The engine of the sleek black car hummed softly, its tires crunching against the dry red dust of the village square. Inside, a woman sat in the cool, conditioned air, her fingers resting heavily on a designer leather steering wheel. She adjusted her dark glasses, her eyes fixed on an old man walking along the roadside. His skin was weathered, his shoulders slightly bent, but his hands were steady. Beside him walked 6 young women, their heads held high, their laughter ringing like silver bells through the humid afternoon heat. The woman in the car felt a cold lump form in her throat. She recognized those eyes. She recognized that quiet, unbreakable dignity. It was the same dignity she had trampled into the mud exactly 25 years ago. A heavy silence settled inside the car, broken only by the sound of her own shallow breathing. She had chased the glittering promise of a life she thought she deserved, leaving behind everything that truly mattered. But the ancestors do not sleep. The laws of the soil never change, and what is sown in pride will always, inevitably, be reaped in shame. Many years before that black car ever drove through the dust, the village of Omudi was known for its tall Iroko trees and the steady rhythmic sound of an iron blade biting into raw timber. This was the world of Kola. Kola was a man whose hands were rough from honest labor, a carpenter who could look at a fallen log and see the steady table hidden inside it. His small workshop sat at the crossroads, a simple thatched shed filled with the rich, sharp scent of freshly cut mahogany and a fine blanket of golden sawdust that covered the earth. He was not a rich man, but his heart was at peace. Every morning, long before the first rooster announced the dawn, Kola would light his small oil lamp, offer a quiet prayer to the heavens, and begin his work. He was a man who believed that a family built on truth and sweat could withstand any storm. Beside him for 12 years was his wife, Ndidi. In the early days of their marriage, Ndidi was the spirit that kept the home warm. She walked with a soft step, cooking meals over the 3-stone fireplace, laughing with Kola as they watched their family grow. And grow it did, in pairs. The heavens had blessed their compound with 3 sets of twin daughters. First came Chidi and Chika, twins whose eyes held the bright curiosity of 10 summers. Then came Ifeoma and Ijeoma, 8 years old, who moved through the compound like twin butterflies. And finally, the little ones, Amaka and Adana, just 6 years old, whose laughter could melt the hardest heart. To Kola, these 6 girls were not a burden, they were his crown. Kola did not care that the village elders sometimes whispered behind him, mocking him for having a house full of women and no son to carry his name. Kola would look at his daughters and say, "A tree is not measured by the shape of its leaves, but by the deepness of its roots." But slowly, a cold wind began to blow through Ndidi's heart. The market square in Umudi was a place of deep observation. It was there that the wives of the wealthy merchants arrived from the big cities, their bodies draped in heavy, glittering lace that swept the ground, gold jewelry clinking against their wrists like coins. Ndidi would stand by her small basket of garden eggs and peppers, watching them. She would look down at her own faded wrapper, her hands wroth from washing clothes by the river, and a bitter poison began to brew in her chest. The simple life she once cherished began to look like a prison. The honest scent of sawdust on Kola's skin no longer smelled of security, it smelled of failure. In the evenings, the warmth of the hearth was replaced by the sharp edge of her tongue. "Look at you," she would hiss, her voice cutting through the quiet night air, while the girls huddled together in the corner. "Look at the husband I married. 12 years, Kola. 12 years of eating cassava and palm oil. Look at Chififein's house. Even his gatekeeper wears better clothes than your wife. Are you not a man? Can you not go out and find the money other men are finding?" Kola would look up from the piece of cedar he was sanding, his face tired but calm. "Ndidi, my wife, wealth that comes quickly vanishes like smoke. Let us be patient." "Patience?" Ndidi was snapped back. I have been patient for 12 years. I am tired of eating the same beans and rice. I am tired of wearing the same 3 wrappers. I am tired of this poverty. The girls would hear their mother's voice rising, and they would exchange worried glances. One afternoon, Ndidi was in the market selling her small basket of vegetables when a sleek black car pulled up beside her store. The door opened, and out stepped a woman dressed in expensive clothes, a bright red lace outfit with gold embroidery, designer sunglasses, and jewelry that sparkled in the sunlight. "Ndidi," the woman called out, removing her sunglasses, "is that really you?" Ego laughed, walking over with her high heels clicking on the ground. "My goodness, Ndidi, what are you doing here selling vegetables?" Ndidi felt shame wash over her. She looked down at her faded clothes, her small basket of tomatoes and peppers. "Ah, Ego, you know how life is. We are just managing." Ego shook her head slowly. "This is not right. A beautiful woman like you cannot be suffering like this." She reached into her expensive handbag and pulled out a business card. "Listen, I am going to a party this Saturday night. Big men will be there. Businessmen, politicians, chiefs. Come with me. Let me introduce you to people who can change your life." Ndidi stared at the card. That evening, Kola noticed something different about her. She seemed distracted, distant. "Are you all right?" he asked. "I am fine," she replied sharply, "just tired." But she was not tired. She was thinking about the car Ego drove, the jewelry she wore, the life she lived, and she wanted it. Oh, how badly she wanted it. That Saturday, Ndidi told Kola she was going to visit an old friend. Fumi picked her up in her car and took her to a luxury hotel in the city. The party was on the top floor, a penthouse suite filled with wealthy men in expensive agbadas, women in glittering dresses, champagne flowing, music playing. Ndidi had never seen anything like it. That night, Ndidi met Chief Ojo. He was a big man, both in size and in status. He owned construction companies, had government contracts, drove 3 different cars, and he liked Ndidi, liked her very much. "You're a very beautiful woman," Chief Ojo said, his voice smooth as he handed her a glass of champagne. By the end of the night, Chief Ojo had given Ndidi a large stack of banknotes, more money than Kola made in 2 months. He also gave him his phone number. "Call me," he said. "I want to see you again." When Ndidi came home that night at 3 in the morning, Kola was awake, worried, sick. Kola noticed something different about her. Her hair was styled differently. She smelled of expensive perfume, and was that a new handbag? "Ndidi, what is going on?" he asked quietly. "Nothing is going on," she snapped. "I am tired. Leave me alone." Little Adana, who was 6 years old, had woken up from the noise. Over the next few months, Ndidi changed completely. She started going out more often, visiting friends, she would say. But she would come home with new clothes, new shoes, new jewelry, expensive things that Kola could never afford. "Where are you getting money for all these things?" Kola asked one evening. The daughters noticed too. Chidi and Chika, even at 10 years old, would watch their mother leave the house dressed like she was going to a wedding, then return in the early hours of the morning. She stopped cooking for the family, stopped helping with anything. Some nights she would not come home at all. Kola would have to wake up early, prepare the girls for school, help them with their uniforms, plait their hair, all the things Ndidi used to do. 6-year-old Amaka would cry every morning. "Papa, where is Mama? Why doesn't Mama help us anymore?" And Kola would force a smile, trying to hide his own pain. One Saturday afternoon, Ndidi drove up to the house in her new car. The neighbors came out to watch. They had never seen a car parked in front of Kola's small house before. Kola was in the front yard fixing a chair. The girls were inside. Ndidi stepped out of the car wearing an expensive gold lace outfit, her neck and wrists heavy with jewelry. "Kola," she called out coldly, "I am leaving. I have found someone better, someone who can actually take care of me, not a poverty-stricken man like you." Kola stood up, his voice shaking. "Ndidi, please don't do this. Think about our daughters. Think about our family. We have been together for 12 years. 12 years of suffering, Ndidi shouted. 12 years of eating the same food, wearing the same clothes, living in this same small house. I am tired. I am done. The girls came running out, having heard their mother's voice. Mama, what is happening? 10-year-old Chidi cried. Where are you going? You girls will be fine. Stay here with your father if you want, but I am leaving. Kola dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Ndidi, please, I am begging you, don't destroy our family like this. Whatever I have done wrong, I will change. Please think about the girls. They are still so young. He grabbed her leg, holding on desperately, crying like a broken man. Ndidi looked down at him with disgust. Get off me, you poverty-stricken man. You smell of sawdust and failure. I am done with this life. She kicked his hand away, and as she turned to get back into her car, little Adana ran forward. Mama, Mama, don't go, please, Mama. The 6-year-old was crying so hard she could barely breathe, but Ndidi didn't even look at her. She got into her car and drove off without looking back. The 6 daughters stood there crying. The neighbors stood there shaking their heads, and Kola knelt in the dust. That night was the longest night of Kola's life. He held his 6 daughters as they cried themselves to sleep, all of them asking the same question. Papa, why did Mama leave us? Doesn't Mama love us anymore? And Kola had no answer. He just held them tight and cried with them. After Ndidi left, life became a nightmare for Kola. Not just because he was now raising 6 young daughters alone, not just because the carpentry business was still slow, but because of the mockery. Oh, the mockery was relentless. People would point at him in the market. That is the man whose wife left him for Chief Ojo. The worst part was taking his daughters to school. He had an old wheelbarrow, the kind used for carrying sand and cement. Because he could not afford a car or even motorcycle transport for all 6 girls, and because the school was far from their house, he would make them sit inside the wheelbarrow 3 at a time and push them to school. Every morning, he would first load the younger ones into the wheelbarrow and push them to school. Then he would run back home to get the older twins for the second trip. People would stand on the roadside and laugh, point fingers, mock him. Look at Kola pushing his daughters like they are bags of cement. 6 daughters and not even 1 kobo to transport them properly. The daughters felt the shame too. Chidi, even at 10 years old, understood what people were saying. She would sometimes cry on the way to school. 8-year-old Ijoma would whisper, tears in her eyes. Little Adana would hide her face in her hands, embarrassed that her classmates saw her being pushed in a wheelbarrow. But Kola would just smile through his pain. Don't mind them, my daughters. Let them laugh. One day, things will change. Just focus on your studies. Education is the only inheritance I can give you. If you study hard, if you become educated, nobody will ever laugh at you again. And despite their young age, the girls understood. They saw their father's sacrifice. They saw him wake up at 4 in the morning to prepare their breakfast. They saw him plait their hair, even though his big carpenter hands were clumsy with the braids. They saw him wash their school uniforms by hand every night so they would be clean the next day. They saw him walk all day in the hot sun, sawing wood, building furniture, coming home exhausted with sawdust in his hair and blisters on his hands. They saw him skip meals sometimes so there would be enough food for them. And they loved their father with everything in their young hearts. They were determined to make him proud. As young as they were, the girls began to help their father in every way they could. Chidi, being the eldest, became like a second mother to her younger sisters. She would help them get dressed in the morning, make sure they packed their school bags properly, help them with their homework. Chika would help with the cooking. At school, the girls were focused. While other children played during break time, Chidi and Chika would be in the library reading. Ifelma and Ijoma would ask their teachers questions, wanting to understand everything. Even little Amaka and Adana were serious about their studies. Their teachers noticed. Years later, something happened that changed everything. By this time, Chidi and Chika were 15 years old, about to finish secondary school. The state government announced a project. They were going to build a large government secondary school in Freetown. Local carpenters were invited to bid for the contract. Kola had never handled anything this big before. When the day came for the bid presentations, Kola put on his best clothes, which was just a clean shirt and trousers, nothing fancy. He entered the room full of other carpenters, some with big workshops and fancy presentations. Kola felt small, inadequate. His presentation was just a few typed papers and some photos of furniture he had made. But when his turn came, he stood up and spoke from his heart. "I am just a simple carpenter," he said quietly, his voice shaking slightly. "I don't have a big workshop or many workers, but I promise you this. If you give me this contract, I will put my whole heart into it. I will use the best wood. I will make furniture that will last for 20 years. 3 days later, Kola received a letter. He opened it with shaking hands. His 6 daughters gathered around him in their small living room. He read the first line and his voice broke. I got it. I got the contract." The room erupted. 15-year-old Chidi burst into tears of joy. 13-year-old Ifelma jumped up and down. The contract changed everything. Kola hired more workers, young men from the town who needed jobs. He rented a bigger workshop. He bought better tools, better wood, better materials. For 8 months, he worked harder than he had ever worked in his life. He would wake up at 4 in the morning and not return home until 9 at night. Money started coming in. Real money. The first thing Kola did was buy a car. Not a fancy car, just a used Toyota, but it was clean and it ran well. The day he drove up to the house to pick up his daughters for school, the whole neighborhood came out to watch. Chidi cried when she saw it. "Papa, you did it. You bought a car." That first ride to school in a car instead of a wheelbarrow, the girls would never forget it. They sat in the back seat, all 6 of them squeezed in together, laughing and crying at the same time. When they arrived at school, their classmates' mouths dropped open. "That's Kola's car," someone whispered. Over the next 5 years, Kola's business grew bigger and bigger. He moved from carpentry to furniture manufacturing. He opened a proper factory. He employed 20 workers. His furniture was sold not just in Freetown, but in the state capital, in neighboring states. And he made sure his daughters had everything they needed for their education. Chidi and Chika, now 20 years old, graduated secondary school as the best students. Both of them scored highly in their final exams. Chidi wanted to study medicine. Chika wanted to study law. Kola paid their school fees to attend the university. For the first time in their lives, his daughters were going to university. When he dropped them off at the university campus, he held them tight and said, "Remember where you came from. Remember the wheelbarrow. Remember the mockery. Let it fuel you to become great. But never, never look down on others who are struggling, because we were once there too." "Yes, Papa," they both promised. The girls flourished in their universities. Chidi, studying medicine, was one of the best students in her class. She was so brilliant that in her 3rd year, she received a scholarship to continue her medical studies in the United Kingdom. A full scholarship, everything paid for. When she received the letter, she called her father crying. Chika, studying law, also excelled. She was the top student in her year. In her final year, she received a scholarship to do her master's degree in Canada. Kola could not believe it. 2 of his daughters were going abroad to study, the same daughters people had mocked. Ifelma and Ijeoma, following in their sisters' footsteps, were also brilliant students. And Amaka and Adanna, the youngest twins, they went into business together. They started a fashion company using the small capital their father gave them and the business sense they had learned from watching him build his company. Within 3 years, their fashion brand became one of the most popular in West Africa. All 6 daughters became successful, and not one of them forgot their father. When Chidi finished her medical degree in the UK and got a high-paying job at a hospital in London, she called her sisters. "Sisters," she said on the video call, "it's time. We all promised when we were young that we would build Papa a proper house. Now we can do it." And they didn't just build a house, they built a mansion. They built it in Lagos, in Lekki, one of the most expensive areas in Nigeria. A beautiful white mansion with 6 bedrooms, one for each daughter, a massive living room, a study for their father, a swimming pool, a garden, luxury cars in the garage. When the house was complete, they planned a surprise. They told their father they wanted to take him to Lagos for a business meeting. Kola, now a successful businessman himself, agreed. He drove to Lagos, not knowing what awaited him. They blindfolded him playfully and led him to the gate. Then they removed the blindfold. Kola stared at the golden plaque, read the words, looked at the massive mansion behind the gate, and he collapsed to his knees, weeping. All 6 daughters were there standing together. Chidi had flown in from London, Chika from Canada, Ifeoma and Ijeoma had taken time off work. Amaka and Adana had closed their fashion shop for the day. "Papa," Chidi said through her tears, "do you remember the wheelbarrow?" Kola nodded, unable to speak. "Do you remember how people laughed at us, how they mocked you?" He nodded again. "This house," Chika said, "is our answer to all of them. This house is proof that a good father raises successful daughters." "Papa," little Adana said, though she was not so little anymore. She was now 26 years old. "We brought the wheelbarrow here." Kola looked up in surprise. "Yes," Amaka said, "we want to put it in the compound in a glass case so we never forget where we came from, so our children and grandchildren will see it." At the mention of their mother, the mood shifted slightly. They had not spoken about Ndidi much over the years. It was a painful topic, but she was still their mother, and they had often wondered what happened to her. "Papa," Chidi asked quietly, "have you heard anything about Mama?" Kola shook his head. "I forgave her a long time ago," he said finally, "because holding anger in my heart was only hurting me. But forgiveness does not mean I have forgotten the pain. It does not mean I would take her back." The daughters nodded. They understood. What they didn't know was that Ndidi had been watching them. Let me tell you what happened to Ndidi after she left. For the first 3 years, life was sweet. Chief Ojo had set her up nicely. The apartment in the city, the car, the money. She shopped at expensive stores, ate at fancy restaurants, traveled to Ghana and Dubai. She posted photos on social media showing off her new life. But then, Chief Ojo's wife found out, and the chief's wife was not a woman to be played with. She was from a powerful family herself. She made trouble, big trouble. Eventually, Chief Ojo got tired of the drama. He called Ndidi one evening. "This is not working," he said coldly. "My wife is making my life hell. You need to go. The apartment lease ends this month. I'm not renewing it. Keep the car if you want. The papers are in your name, but don't contact me again." And he hung up. Just like that, Ndidi was alone. She spent the next 2 years going from one man to the next, each one less wealthy than the last. Her savings ran out. She had to sell the car to pay rent. Then she had to move to a cheaper apartment, then an even cheaper one. She had to sell her jewelry to buy food, then her clothes, then everything. Within 5 years of leaving Kola, Ndidi was back to square one. Worse than square one, because now she had no husband, no daughters, no family. She moved back to Freetown and rented a tiny room in a poor neighborhood, the kind of neighborhood she had once despised. She heard about Kola's success, heard that he had become a wealthy businessman, heard that his daughters were all successful, doctors, lawyers, businesswomen, and shame had been eating her alive. One afternoon, Ndidi saw a newspaper article with a photo of Kola and all 6 daughters standing in front of their new mansion in Lagos. The headline read, "From Wheelbarrow to Mansion, the inspiring story of Kola and his 6 daughters." She bought the newspaper and read every word, wept for hours holding that newspaper. "I need to see them," she whispered to herself. "I need to apologize. I need to beg for forgiveness." She used the last of her money to take a bus to Lagos. When she arrived at the mansion, she almost turned back. The house was so beautiful, so grand. The golden plaque above the gate gleamed in the sunlight. She walked up to the gate. The security guard stopped her. "Yes, can I help you? I need to see Kola," she said quietly, and his daughters. "Who are you?" Ndidi swallowed hard. I am their mother." The guard's eyes widened. He had heard the story. "Wait here," he said. Inside the mansion, the family was having Sunday lunch together. All 6 daughters had come home that weekend. When the guard came and told them their mother was at the gate, the dining room fell silent. Forks stopped midway to mouths. Glasses froze in hands. "What did you say?" Chidi asked quietly. "Your mother, madame. She's at the gate. She says she wants to see all of you." Kola's face was unreadable. He said nothing, just stared at his plate. "What should we do?" Cordelia asked. "Send her away," Chika said sharply. "She has no right to be here." "No," Amelia said. "Let her in. Let her see what she missed." Kola finally spoke. "Let her in. We will hear what she has to say." They told the guard to allow her into the compound. Ndidi walked slowly up the long driveway, her heart pounding. She passed the luxury cars parked in the garage. She saw the beautiful garden, the mansion itself, white and gleaming. She entered the house and was led to the dining room. And there they were. Kola, looking older but healthy, well-dressed, sitting at the head of a long mahogany table, and her 6 daughters, no longer the little girls she had left. All of them were staring at her. Ndidi's legs gave way. She fell to her knees. "I am sorry," she sobbed. "I am so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. I was foolish. I was greedy. I destroyed our family. Please forgive me. Please." Nobody spoke. She crawled forward on her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Kola, please. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness." Still, nobody spoke. She turned to her daughters. "My babies, my beautiful daughters, I am so proud of you. Look at what you have become. Doctors, lawyers, businesswomen. But I had no part in it. I wasn't there. I missed everything. I missed your graduations. I will regret it for the rest of my life." Chidi finally spoke, her voice cold. "You are proud of us. You have no right to be proud of us. We are not your achievement. We are Papa's achievement. He is the one who raised us. He is the one who pushed us to school in a wheelbarrow, while you were driving around in a car with Chief Ojo. He is the one who skipped meals so we could eat, while you were eating in fancy restaurants. He is the one who cried with us at night when we asked where you were." I know, and I am sorry." "Sorry is not enough," Chika said. "Do you know what it did to us when you left?" Adana's voice was the quietest. "I am 26 years old, and I still remember the day you left. I remember running after your car, crying for you to come back. I remember you didn't even look back. I was 6 years old, Mama. 6 years old, and you didn't even look back." Ndidi was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Please forgive me. I have nowhere to go. I have nothing. I am living in one small room. I have no money. I am suffering. Please, take me back. Please, let me be part of this family again." It was Kola who finally spoke. "Ndidi," he said quietly, "I forgave you a long time ago because I had to, because holding on to anger was destroying me. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Forgiveness does not mean letting you back into our lives as if nothing happened. You stopped being their mother the day you drove away in that car. I became their mother and their father. You have no claim to them now." Chidi spoke again. "Mama, we will not throw you out on the street. We are not heartless like you are. We will help you. We will rent a small apartment, not here in Lagos, but in a small town. We will send you money every month for food and basic needs, but that is all. You will never live in this house. You will never sit at this table. You will never be part of this family again. You are just a woman we are helping because we are kind people, not because we consider you our mother." Ndidi was devastated. This was worse than being thrown out. This was being kept at arm's length. "That is our offer," Chika said. "Take it or leave it." Ndidi realized she had no choice. She had no leverage, no power, nothing. I accept," she whispered. "My people, pull your mats closer and look into the dying embers of this fire. The story of Kola and Ndidi is a mirror for your own life. Never look down on a man because his hands are dirty with the sweat of today's struggle. Sawdust can cover a man's clothes, but if his heart is clean, the ancestors will surely carve him into a king. The fire is burning down to ash. Subscribe to African Folktales TV. Keep your flame alive."